That was crazy to me because, again, never did I think I'd be going offshore bow fishing. And I'm actually someone who gets seasick really easy. So I was pretty concerned about that. But we went out there, and Porkchop was on that one as well. So we are offshore. We've got sharks swarming.
Welcome to the Woman Angler and Adventurer podcast, inspiring real women with a passion for fishing and the outdoors to go get their adventure on. Now, here's your host, Angie Scott and Barb Carey.
Welcome back to another episode of the Woman Angler and Adventurer. And I tell you, I am so excited for this week's show because we have a superstar guest on it this week. Our guest is Melissa Bachman. Melissa, I can't thank you enough for being on our show this week.
Well, thank you guys for having me. I sure appreciate it. I'm excited to talk with you.
Now, you are, for those that don't know you, I'm sure most people in our listener group do, but you're the superstar from the Sportsman Channel, and you're on the show Winchester Deadly Passion. And I've
got some of those. I'm not sure about the superstar part, but that is the name of the show.
I tell you, I've been watching you on there, and you're a superstar to me, I tell you that. And how impressive for anyone that hunts and fishes. They got to watch that because, holy smokes, you could knock it out of the park, let me tell you.
Well, I very much so enjoy doing it, and that's what I've loved since I was a little kid, so there's nothing I enjoy more.
Now, you and Angie both grew up in Minnesota. Angie was telling me that she was looking you up there, and you guys grew up less than 100 miles apart.
Yeah, you're almost...
Yes, Minnesota produces lots of great people, don't they?
They sure do. I grew up in North Branch, and when I was looking on the map, that's almost 100 miles, like, dead east of Paynesville. So it's kind of cool to see that. And I watched some of your childhood videos, and I saw one where you were trapping gophers, and I grew up doing that as well.
Yeah, it's funny because we did two things. We trapped gophers, and we recycled aluminum cans to get our first bikes.
Yep,
and
we did that too.
It's so funny because looking back, that's how we got 50 cents a gopher foot, and I just thought it was the coolest thing in the world. I still remember bringing my jar of gopher feet into the county to get my money, and I was blown away. They didn't want me to dump all those feet on the counter and count each one of them. They just took my word how many were in there.
Oh, my gosh.
I laugh about that thinking, oh, my goodness. What can you imagine this little girl coming in with her gopher feet wanting to dump them out and count them out for you?
I feel like we used to get $1 for ours, I think. We must have had a bigger problem in my neck of the woods.
I feel like I missed out. I grew up in the UP. There was not a bounty on gophers up there. Well, anyway, Melissa, I gotta be honest with you. I was following Porkchop for quite a while because Fleet Farm mentioned it on one of my Instagram posts, and I have a Boston Terrier, and I didn't find out till today that Porkchop was actually your dog.
Oh, really? Oh, that's so funny. Yes, Porkchop is the best thing in the world. I just love her. I started traveling so much, and I was always by myself, and I decided, you know what? I need a little sidekick that's going to come with me everywhere. And she has just been such a treat. She travels so well. She flies all over with me, and she hunts with me all over the place, sits in the blind all day, and really hasn't had much trouble at all. I mean, you would think having animals in at, bow hunting 10, 15 yards and she's in the blind. I do remember one time she started drinking water and was slurping up noisily and about scared an antelope off. But she is just awesome, and that's funny that you follow her.
Yeah, my little Boston Terrier is an avid hunter as well, but, I've never even considered taking her deer hunting. I mean, wow, that's something to think of. Now, do you have to spray her down with that scent? Her name is Stella.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, she's a trip, man. She hates fishing, but she loves hunting. And I feel like she should have her own page so she can follow Porkchop too.
Absolutely. Get them all on there. I joke because I was not completely sure that I knew that on Instagram everybody can see what you like, and I didn't even know that. And they said, oh my goodness, if anybody looks at my page, all I ever like when I'm scrolling through there's dogs. There's just dog pictures of Frenchies in Boston nonstop, and I just love them.
Gosh, that is so awesome. Now, you must never be home. I see you traveling all over the world. How do you do it? I can't even imagine having that kind of lifestyle. It must be just exhausting.
Well, there is a lot of travel involved. I am on the road a lot, but honestly, that's what I love. It's what I've always wanted to do since I was a little girl. My dream was to hunt every day. And I've gotten pretty close to that, and I think we're good with, I don't need to hunt every day. There's been years where I've been on the road about 320 days or more. And, that's a lot of time away from your home and family. And I've been able to, scale that back a little bit now. But what I love is, this is what I worked for for a very long time. And, when you really stay dedicated and do something you love, it really goes by fast, and you really do enjoy it.
Well, I know this week we kind of wanted to talk about bow fishing, and I've been looking at some of the pictures. I personally bow fished several times myself, and I see so many more people in some of the networks that I'm engaged with having a lot more interest and inquiries about it. And so that's why today we thought we'd talk a little bit about bow fishing. So how did you make that transition? Was that something that, of course, it hasn't been popular for that long, but how did you get into it?
I actually started bow fishing, I think, 12 years old. So I've been doing it for a very long time. We grew up in central Minnesota, so we're probably about 1.5 miles from the lake here. And when we were little, my parents actually had lists of chores, and when we got them done, we got to get on our bikes and run down to the lake. And we have an area where the lake jumps into a river, and it's a great place for carp just kind of to circle in there and swarm all around. And there's actually kind of a fence that they leave open. But what's nice is it allows you to walk this rail that crosses the river. And I have no idea how many days and hours that I have spent there as a child. And you just stand up there and you just bow fish and you just shoot all day. And it was one of my favorite things. And so for me, I've been bow fishing for a very long time, and it's just second nature. I'm so excited to see it getting more and more popular because it's a really fun thing to do in the summer months that a lot of people didn't even know existed. And, it's really a great way to open up, a lot more things to do and to really keep that core strength up. So when hunting season comes, you're ready to go as well.
Yeah, now, back in those days, did you actually have the setup with the realist, or is that something you kind of made yourself?
Well, it wasn't quite the setup I have now. I can tell you that much. We made a few modifications, but our little local archery shop did have these reels, and we used just one of the old recurves that were around here, and we had a great setup. And, what was nice is you could just kind of, throw it around a little bit. If you had a giant on, you could put it in the dirt, where now you want to be a little more careful when you're using a knife bow. You don't get sand in the cans and stuff. But I really enjoyed it. And, the gear wasn't quite what it was today, but it got the job done. And if we had a problem, we made a little modification in the field and made it work for the next time.
So someone like me who's never bowfish before, and I didn't know, Barb, that you'd had some experience doing that in the past, but how would you recommend someone get started? Like is there like a simple setup that somebody could go out and get?
Well, if you look actually at Fleet Farm, they have this great deal where they have packages that are pre-set up. It's got literally everything you need all in one package, which is really nice for people who just aren't sure what they need. But the other great option is now that the bow fishing companies have come up with so many little adapters and things to make it easier that you could take your regular hunting bow and outfit it for bow fishing throughout the summer, and then switch it back to a hunting bow during the fall. That's always one option. Or you can always get another option where, you have a special set-aside bow just for bow fishing. And there's a lot of different companies who make it. But what I try to remind people too is, a lot of times you're better off with a lower poundage when you go out bow fishing. But one thing I've always done is I actually keep my bow at the same weight. And I don't always recommend that to people, but I do it because when you go out bow fishing, you're going to shoot, some nights there'll be 200-300 shots in an evening. And if I keep it at my same weight, I can tell you, you will be so strong by season. I've actually woke up after a night of bow fishing, and my core is so sore from shooting a bow over and over and over. But when it comes time in the fall, you can draw that bow over and over and over again. So it's not only, a lot of fun, but it's a great kind of workout way to think of it as well. Because honestly, a lot of times women will ask, well, what can I do to up my poundage? What kind of exercises? And I try to remind people the best exercise you could possibly do, go shoot that bow over and over and over. So.
Now, I'm seeing a picture of you standing in a river holding up this monster fish. It almost looks like an alligator or something. And there is a picture of Porkchop with that same fish. I want to know what the heck kind of animal or fish that is.
That was actually down in Texas. It was an alligator gar. It was, I believe, 7'2", and I can't remember the exact weight, but it was a monster. And you go down there and you're on a river, and they actually roll. They come up, and you have to be really quick shooting. You don't have a lot of time. I went down there, and I just got very lucky, and we ended up with this giant, and it was truly kind of the top of all bow fishing. Growing up in Minnesota, never ever did I think as a little kid someday I would catch something like this bow fishing, and I was just so excited, and I think you can see that excitement. And it's actually funny because I've posted the videos, and I did a show on it for Winchester Deadly Passion, and people have come and they said, there is no way you lifted that up by yourself like that. You must have had hoists or there's something in the river. And I said, no, but I can tell you what, I was covered in slime by the time we were done taking those pictures.
Well, I tell you, all anybody has to do is look at your arms in those pictures, and they're going to know that you're able to pick that up because there's some, the strength is obvious, that's for sure.
Yeah, I like to go to the gym by going bow fishing and catching big giant things. That's my idea. I love it.
Yeah, we're gonna include that picture in the show notes of this episode if that's okay with you, because that's just an awesome shot.
Another fun thing with that is Porkchop was with me on that boat, and we started bringing this fish in, and her favorite thing is to lick every fish. And I'm thinking, oh, Porkchop, this fish can eat you, don't lick it. And we get it on board, and she's licking away, and she's getting by that mouth. And I thought, oh, no, I don't want something to happen to you from a giant fish I just pulled out of the water. But she really enjoyed it, probably just as much as me. So that was a pretty fun adventure for Porkchop and a fun one for me as well.
God, yeah, she's in a picture there with you and that fish. She doesn't look too thrilled in the picture, but yeah,
she's going to work on that face every once in a while. I think she's mad at me right there.
Yeah, makeup for Porkchop.
Yes. I realized how big it was and that it could probably eat her. So she might have had a little fear in those eyes.
Now, you've gotten to bowfish in some pretty neat locations, and one I saw an episode you did actually offshore bowfishing. What was that experience like?
That was crazy to me because, again, never did I think I'd be going offshore bowfishing. And I'm actually someone who gets seasick really easy. So I was pretty concerned about that. But we went out there, and Porkchop was on that one as well. So we are offshore. We've got sharks swarming. I got a tuna. And what's crazy is not only do you have to be a good shot, but you have to have such good balance because you're standing up on the edge of that boat and the waves are just coming in and crashing around and everything is kind of chaos. And especially with those tuna, they are so fast. So that was truly probably one of the best accomplishments I've ever felt like I've done as a hunter because they were so fast. And, I don't know if it was luck or what happened, but I got it on probably my second or third try, and it was an absolutely perfect shot. And you really just start leading them almost like you would like your waterfowl hunting. So it's crazy, how different types of hunts all come together. And never did I think, shooting ducks and doves back home would help me lead to shooting a tuna with a bow fishing. But I do believe that really did help. And, that was awesome. And tuna is my favorite fish to eat. So it was pretty cool to be able to pull something like that up. And and it made it really fun too, because Rob Moran, the guy that was the captain, I mean, he was so proud and so tickled. We just had a great time, and he was actually holding kind of the back of my shorts as we went, because he was afraid I was going to go overboard. But we did it as a team, and we had a great time, and Porkchop didn't fall in or get sick, and neither did I.
Wow, that was awesome. Yeah, you don't want to fall in there, man. You're right in the food chain. I saw those fish on that show, and that they were ready to have a feeding frenzy on anything that fell in it. Now, that's something different, because you can't reel those in. You got to, they put something so they kind of, you can follow them around until they wear out a little bit. Is that what happened?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that was what was really interesting, because I didn't really know on gear how to set up to go down there, because not very many people had ever done this. I had looked online and asked a few questions. So I brought a variety of gear. But yes, the big thing when you get, something really, really big on is you just kind of let it all wear out. And then we actually had these, it's almost like a bungee cord, if you will. And you just keep putting it out with a really big float at the end, and it lets them tire them out for a little bit. And then you're able to hand line it back in. So, there's a lot of different ways to do it, but what I've learned with hunting and fishing in different places is, I just go out for the adventure, and then I try to adapt as much as I possibly can on the fly. You learn from the people you're with, you ask questions, and let's face it, some of it's just what works and what doesn't, and just kind of going from that, maybe people think, well, you must have an idea of exactly how to do this before you went. No, I was just pretty much learning on the fly, but we made it work.
Yeah, and people, I think, more people are getting excited about bow fishing, but one thing that they got to realize is the regulations are really different state to state. You just can't go bow fishing after any fish. So I know Wisconsin, it's pretty limited on what you can go after.
Mm-hmm. A lot of states are pretty good with carp. Usually that's pretty good. Anything beyond that is really, really touchy state to state. So that's one of the most important things is I always recommend to people, if you've got questions, call your local game warden and talk to them and tell them what you'd like to do and ask them questions. They're thrilled to talk with you, and I think sometimes that's the best way to go about it. And that way you can ask more specific questions and get right to the bottom and make sure that you're on the right side of the law.
Yeah, that's great advice for sure. Have you run into any controversy? I mean, obviously when you're bow fishing, it's not a catch and release situation. I was just wondering what kind of reaction you've seen out there from your experiences.
I've actually been kind of blown away by it, because I've had people, our own hunters and fishermen, who will start giving you grief about it. And I said, you know what? Wait 1 minute here. I like to eat fish. And that is great that many people catch and release. There's nothing wrong with that. Bow fishing is not a catch and release sport. You are going to keep what you get. But there's a lot of things that can be done with a lot of different fish. And just because they see you shooting a carp and they think you may not eat it, carp is a rough fish. There's way too many of them. They devastate lakes. And some people eat them, some people don't. We do. We smoke them. But I have been surprised that, some of the kickback you get on it. And honestly, I'm pretty vocal when it comes back to it. If people want to call me out on stuff like that, that's fine. And I try to remind them, hey, I like to eat things, and this is what we do here. So you just try to put people in check a little bit and remind them that, hey, we're all on the same team here. Let's not do it. The only thing I always want to remind people, especially bow fishermen, is one, it is illegal and it's wrong. You never leave your fish on shore there. There are places that have bins that you can dispose of carp in places that they're problem area, and there's a lot of different options, but you just always want to really think that through and follow the laws and be smart about it and be a good sportsman out in nature.
Yeah, a lot of farmers ask for them. I mean, they're using those to fertilize the fields, and I mean, there's if you're going to get into the sport, there's people that have those networks in place, and that's how you kind of do that the right way. Well, Melissa, it's been a pleasure to talk to Porkchop's mom.
Oh, well, thank you very much. I always joke this, and I think Porkchop's going to become popular enough. I think I can let her take over the show. And you know what? There's nothing I would enjoy more than that. So if I could be introduced as Porkchop's mom everywhere I go, that would be great by me.
Yeah, it's funny. We record these podcasts, and there's been several times where all of a sudden Stella will grab a toy and start squeaking it, and kind of sleeping on the couch all day until you're on the phone doing a podcast, and all of a sudden she wants to squeak the toy or bark or something. So she's been on the show a few times too.
Well, tell her I don't mind one bit if she wants to squeak the toy while we're doing it, so no problem.
Maybe we'll have to have Porkchop on next time.
Yes, that'd be great.
Well, again, thank you so much. And if people want to follow you, what's the best way? Like, how can they find the show, and how can they find you on Instagram?
Well, Winchester Deadly Passion airs every Sunday year-round on Sportsman Channel. It's at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time every single week. And Instagram, it's Melissa_Bachman. Otherwise, you can just go to my website, melissabachman.com, and see what's going on, and links to social are on there. So I just appreciate your guys' time for having me on the show, and just awesome to talk with people. And I hope many, many more people get involved in bow fishing and get started, because you're going to love it.
Awesome.
Well, thank you so much. And I'm going to keep track of you. So when you're speaking somewhere sometime, I'm going to come and see you.
Okay, sounds great. I look forward to it.
Hey everyone, thanks for checking out this episode of The Woman Angler and Adventurer. I hope you enjoyed our conversation with Melissa Bachman about bow fishing. Be sure and check out her show, Winchester Deadly Passion, if you haven't already. You won't be disappointed. If this was your first time finding us, we hope you'll go back and listen to some of our past episodes as we speak with amazing women like Melissa just about every week to help inspire you to be your best outdoors women and do amazing things. Please drop by and share your story on our Woman Angler and Adventurer Facebook group. And while you're at it, toss us a like over to the Facebook page as well. Word is continuing to spread, and we're super excited to be reaching more women like you and impacting more women as well. Thanks for listening. Now go get your adventure on.